Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I wanted to talk to you today about some things that have been said and that are happening today that very possibly could connect to some stuff that's been talked about over the last few weeks, few months, and few years. And it could maybe possibly indicate something's about to happen. I'm not making predictions. I'm not telling you to go run to your hidey holes. I'm not telling you to pull all your money out of the banks, which you probably really shouldn't be keeping much money in banks anyways, or anything like that. I'm just saying that things are, at least according to the information that you and I find online, kind of indicate that maybe we're getting ready to something to happen. So I wanted to show you some things and try to explain to you my mad way of thinking. I can't even say it correctly, but you know how I put things together. This morning, or earlier today, the news started talking about this here. Biden administration is preparing evacuation plans for American citizens living in Taiwan. There's several sources saying this, several news sources that are talking about this. There's been nothing that I can find yet that's confirming this from the White House. But it's quite possibly that we won't. And even if we do, even if there's anything that comes from the White House about this, who knows if it'd be true or not. I mean, you all know this. You cannot trust anything whatsoever that the White House says. So it doesn't really matter to me. But this is interesting. From everything that I'm reading on this, I can't find anything that talks about a timeline. Like, is this a evacuation plan that would be implemented at some point in the future if there was a war, an evacuation plan that's being built and put together so that it can be implemented soon, right now, over the next few hours, days, weeks, months, who knows. But just the fact that it's being talked about and the evacuation of American citizens from Taiwan, I think that alone is pretty serious. You know, what do they know that, well, we don't? A lot of stuff. That's the answer. Over the last couple of weeks, I've pointed this out in my weekly news recaps, that there has been seemingly kind of a rapid, all of a sudden movement and language when it comes to aggression between us and China. You know, there was the Chinese ship and the Chinese plane that cut our guys off. China has made statements that it's teetering on a knife's edge, kind of, so to speak. The United States has made statements that if these hostilities don't stop, someone could, quote, get hurt, just back and forth. And then now we see that, and of course, there's been other things. You know, we just signed a trade deal, arms trade deal with Taiwan. Japan has been considering moving some of their people out of Taiwan because they're afraid that Japan could get drawn into this. Of course, Japan has had their air defense systems on alert for a while because of China and North Korea. So there's all this kind of stuff happening, right? This kind of buildup. All the while, Americans are getting really distracted because it's Pride Month and everybody's got to look at, apparently, at men dressed as women showing off their nether regions. I don't know why there's such pride in that, or that you have relations with the same sex. I don't know where the pride is there, but hey, that's what everyone is being distracted on. Focusing on that kind of makes you think of the scripture that pride cometh before the fall, or before destruction, and maybe that was more prophetic than it was just telling you about your personal life, that all this pride. Anyways, but there's that. There's also this counteroffensive in Ukraine. One side of the story is that Russia is decimating Ukraine. I've seen that half of the Leopard tanks, and this is not confirmed, but saying that half of the Leopard tanks that were sent to Ukraine have already been destroyed, and anywhere between 15 to 30% of the Bradley fighting vehicles that were sent to Ukraine from the U.S. have already been destroyed in just a few days. So there's all that stuff going on. And is all that a distraction away from China? Because we were kind of focused on China for a while, and Taiwan. and now it's kind of, pulled away. I don't know, but there's more. So let's see if there's any pieces of these puzzle that fit together. Again, we've got the, potential evacuation in the future of U.S. citizens from Taiwan. And then also today, actually not that long ago, this came out of Reuters. It says Americans should prepare for cyber sabotage. Chinese hackers are all but certain to disrupt American critical infrastructure such as pipelines and railways in the event of a conflict with the United States, a senior cybersecurity official told Reuters today. So here they are warning that, at least inferring, that some type of attack from China, whether directly on us, on our soil, or to Taiwan, or something like that, Guam maybe, could be in the very near future. We're working on evacuating our people out of the area, and for the rest of you, you need to be aware of this because it's almost certain that China will attack our security grid. And then one other thing in just the last few days, and I talked about this over the weekend, NASA says that they have a mission, not the kind of mission to go to the moon or to Mars or anything like that. They have a mission to stop the internet apocalypse. I'm not quite sure why it's come under the purview of NASA, but hey, we'll roll with it today, right? NASA has a mission to stop internet apocalypse to prevent months of online access disruption. In other words, they're going to do something to prevent the internet from crashing and going down, because that would just be apocalyptic. Because heaven forbid all of these people walking around doing this wouldn't have it available. It would be apocalyptic. It would be. It would be the zombie apocalypse. All those Walking Dead TV shows and movies. I never did watch that show. But anyways, that's exactly what we would see. We would see all these people losing their minds because they don't have their cell phone access. Their internet's down. I can't get on Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter and all these other things. So that's kind of that. DHS just a few months back in February, started talking about the concern of white nationalists attacking the power grid. We all pretty much know about that. And then there's been other things. There's been some other things that insinuate or kind of are going down this path that we could be seeing some kind of escalation, some kind of conflict between us and China, and it also could result in a cyber attack. Or maybe we'll see a false flag that China's doing something, and then all of a sudden, miraculously coincidence, our grid goes down, or we have a major cyber attack. Who knows? But I'm just putting this out there because all I'm doing, if you don't agree with me, I'm just echoing the great Darth Vader. I got distracted. The great Klaus Schwab. Listen here to what he said just a few years ago.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
So see, it's not just a crazy old hillbilly guy in the Ozarks that's saying these kind of things. I mean, Klaus Schwab says it too, that a major cyber attack could easily, most definitely, could actually happen. This past, it was this year, back in January or February, they had the World Government Summit, I believe is what it was. Or maybe it was the meeting in Davos. I can't remember. One of those two events that was held back in January or February. And at that time, one of the main topics of discussion was a major cyber attack that would, crash the grid and everything. And then the World Economic Forum has also put out another video here. I'm not going to allow the audio on this one to air. Because it'll probably get me in trouble. If you want to watch this, I will post this over on my locals community, which is someplace that every one of you need to be. That is my home base. That's where all of my content is put. all the content that's open for the public and all the content for just kind of the members only area, several pieces of things every day, videos, articles, all kinds of stuff. You can join it for free and see some of it. If you want to pay a small monthly fee, then you can see the rest of it. But anyways, I'll post the full video of this over there. And it's just another one of their little promotional videos, psychological, manipulating videos to warn people that a cyber pandemic is on its way. And so we've been hearing that. Now, how is this all going to work out? Well, of course, I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. I don't have a security clearance, at least not anymore. But how it could work out. Could there be some kind of conflict arise with China and Russia, and then our grid gets taken out? Maybe it's because of China, maybe it's because domestic actors, whether they be government domestic actors or just domestic random people that have white skin. I don't know. These are all possibilities. And I haven't figured out which one is the most likely. Or maybe there is no, like I said, maybe there is no kind of conflict or attack or real danger there between us and China, and something is somehow staged, and then a cyber attack happens. And there's all kinds of variables. And I don't want to get so caught up in the weeds of trying to figure out how it could happen and figuring out some kind of conspiracy that sounds the best. What I want to focus on is that we have several sources letting us know that a potential real conflict could be happening very soon. I've heard from several people that listen to my channel that are current military, not retired. I mean, I hear from retired people all the time. Hear from veterans face-to-face and through email all the time. But I have heard from several current active duty military that are telling me that it's like the whole focus right now in their training and talk is China, China, China. Like no one's really talking about Russia and Ukraine. He said it's all, several of these, that it's all about China, getting things ready. I watched a little video last night, documentary made just a few days ago. And it was talking about how they have restarted basically the jungle units that was popular and known back in the Korean and Vietnam War. And so they're training soldiers now to fight in the jungle because the Pacific Front is going to be the next one. In fact, it was Barack Obama that said that the Pacific Front would be the next conflict. And here we are, amazing. This person that has kind of godlike knowledge of Barack Obama figured it out before anyone else did. So I don't know how this is going to happen. I don't know which direction or which conspiracy is going to work out, or if it's going to be all or something totally different. But I can tell you that it looks, on the surface, the stuff that you and I are able to view, that either there is going to be something happen in the near future, or at least they want us to think that something's going to happen. And so we should be getting prepared for that. We should be preparing for potential conflict with China. And then most definitely preparing for some kind of cyber attack or grid attack. I mean, if you can't get online, you're obviously not going to be watching me for a while, maybe ever. But there's also a lot of other things, your money, communication with friends and family, figuring out how to do stuff. So many people still rely on, if I'm going to cook a recipe, cook some kind of meal, and well, how do I figure out how to do it? Well, I Google it on my phone, and, search it on my phone. You may not have access to that kind of stuff. Medical things, the grid could go down because of that. The shipping and supply chain stuff could just come crashing to a halt. Energy, flowing of fuels to get to your gas station, all that kind of stuff could come to a crashing halt depending on how bad a grid or cyber attack could be. And we should be prepared for that, definitely, because that is catastrophic. That is absolutely catastrophic. I talked about that in last Sunday's a little live stream that my wife and I put on, which is another secret. Over on Locals, we do the live stream every Saturday night. Well, on Locals, we're starting to do live streams on Sundays, and they're much more laid back, and we just kind of talk it up about anything. So, but you have to be a member of Locals. Anyways, the likelihood of something happening, I think is growing because we're seeing this buildup of an intensity and repetition. So it's becoming more and more intense when it's in relation to talking about some kind of conflict with China, the grid going down, cyber attack. They're all very interconnected. And so I think with it's just the smart thing to do to start taking it as a real possibility and getting ourselves prepared for it. You know, last year especially, all we heard officially from the government, the Pentagon, was that, oh, any type of potential conflict with China might be years into the future. Oh, you know, I mean, maybe 3 years, but most likely 5 to 7 years was what we were hearing a lot. A lot of people, even people on kind of our side, the more kind of prepper-minded people, like, oh, it's, you know, that's years down the road. Years down the road. Like, we're not ready for it. China's not ready for it. Maybe, maybe not. And maybe it's a lot sooner because the talk I'm seeing shift in the mainstream narrative between the government and the media is that it's a lot sooner than 5, 7 years, that it may be happening in the next few months or few weeks or few hours. We don't know. I suspect that China won't be quite as forgiving as Russia was by basically announcing it. You know, all right, at this time, just letting you know, in a couple of weeks, at this time, we're gonna invade. I know they didn't do that, but they almost did, and I don't really foresee China doing that. They're constantly building up these flyovers, you know, entering into Taiwan space, constantly sending ships more and more around it, and I think they're going to do that until at one moment they just happen to open fire and no one is really prepared. They're caught off guard, and then it's on. So we need to be getting ready for that, folks. Preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually, because it's important. You need to be stocking up. You need to be prayed up. You need to be planning up. One last thing, I would recommend stocking up on food a lot. I recommend that all the time. If you're looking for emergency food, please check out the link in the description below. Amazing products from My Patriot Supply, one of the best price per calories product that you can find out there, American owned, American made, and it does help out the channel. It helps us continue doing what we're doing. So check that out if you're in need of it. Not everyone wants it or needs it, but if you do, there's a link down there to click on. Folks, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.